Hello dear friends, partners, fans, and welcome to our popular HARDWARIO webinar. We are passionate to share our know-how, technologies and case studies. Together with our partners, we transform today into digital tomorrow. I'd like to introduce today's presenters. I'm Alan, HARDWARIO CEO, and this is Thomas, my friend, co-founder, CFO, and guy who is responsible for international development. We'd love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to ask any question during our webinar. We will answer all these questions in the end. So Thomas, what's today's topic?
Hello Alan, and hello everyone, and thank you for watching us today. We will focus on the details of a particular forestry IoT project that is one of the most important and most successful in 2020 for us. We will start with the introduction of the project specifics and details. We will share our used technologies and products with you, and you will also get project results and overlap.
And as was mentioned before, we will have plenty of time to answer all your questions. So please use webinar chat, and
we will answer instantly, or we will select the question to be answered at the end during the Q&A session.
So, ready to start?
Our customers in this project are Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, in short DEFRA, and Forest Research Agency. They focus on the forests, trees and ecosystems around them and how they are influenced by the environment and climate change. The most important for them is that they are monitoring hundreds of trees in many locations in Britain, and they work with the data from the monitoring station.
This project was introduced to us by our partner, Vodafone UK. Vodafone is a provider of UK's best mobile network with over 18 million customers. Vodafone had been partnering with DEFRA and the Forest Research Agency for some time, and they were discussing about IoT and how IoT can help them in their research and scientific work.
And now it is time to describe project goals. Forest Research Agency conducts measurements in approximately 50 British forests, and by measuring they seek to answer questions about climate and its impact on the growth of the trees. For instance, how fast do the trees grow in selected period? What impacts tree growth the most, including other measured values? If there are any difference in tree growth between individual microclimates or regions, and what is the difference in tree growth between individual locations they measure, the individual forests. So far, the measurement and evaluation have been complicated by manual and costly data collection and limited number of weather stations, which require permanent supply from domains and GSM communication, or required manual and costly data collection.
So the challenge was to digitize manual or GSM monitoring in areas without the permanent supply from domains and with poor GSM signal.
Exactly.
Take a look at our solution. It's based on our Chester IoT hub, equipped with several sensors. A special sensor called Dendrometer, an external temperature and humidity sensor, a source sensor measuring temperature and humidity.
Chester communicates via Vodafone NB-IoT network to HARDWARIO cloud, and DEFRA obtains data through REST API, and data are visualized in the Grafana too.
And now it's time to dive deeper into mentioned technologies. Chester IoT Hub is a multi-purpose IoT device that reliably covers a wide range of IoT applications in industry, agriculture, construction, retail or healthcare.
It is equipped with various technologies. It has Bluetooth Low Energy so that you can connect your application and get the service data. It is equipped with LoRa and NB-IoT stack, and you can use both technologies to communicate. And it has also robust battery that is very appropriate for the outdoor applications. The most important for this project and for many other applications are the terminal inputs and extension modules that allows Chester to connect various external sensors and monitors. In this very case, we use X1 extension module to connect with soil moisture and X7 to connect the Dendrometer.
How you can get more information about Chester IoT device? Easily. You can go to our website, or you can even buy them online in our store, or ask for datasheet.
So this project is about integrating several external sensors with Chester, and the most important thing is Dendrometer, or precisely EMS DR26 stern increment sensor. As the name indicates, it is developed and supplied by our partner, Czech-based company EMS Brno, and we chose this sensor because Forest Research Agency and DEFRA, they had already previous experience with that, and we also selected that as one of the most precise on the market. What is different on this sensor and why we chose it is that it measures rotary position of the stern increment of the tree. It is stepless reading, so it really measures every single millimeter of the increment. There is no upper limit on the stern diameter because it's using the metal band around the stern, and it really has no upper limit. And it's very non-invasive, so it cooperates or complies with our approach to IoT. You don't have to dig anything or screw anything in the tree, and you can measure it without any invasion or destroyment on a tree.
This is almost the same situation. If you are interested in this product, you will find a link in our webinar follow-up. And as you can see, you can find more information on EMS website. And now a few words about our product called soil sensor. So as you can hear, it's about soil, and it measures soil temperature and humidity. But I will tell you about more fantastic features, like it's a fully digital design, and it's fully sealed, and most of all, it's a capacitive method we used for this soil sensor, which is much better than resistance method. And maybe Thomas, you can tell us more, because our CTO Pavel wrote a beautiful article in our blog, right?
Yeah, you can see it here, and you can see a lot about integrations. It is integrated in Chester via one wire bus method, which allows various sensors to be connected with one wire to a single unit. And you can also buy this sensor on our online store.
And the last mention is about how many soil sensors you can connect to one Chester, because we have chosen one wire technology. It can be much more than just one. Even we used one soil sensor in this project with DEFRA. We have Chester IoT device, IoT hub, and we have sensors connected to Chester, measuring growth rate, air humidity and temperature, and this soil moisture sensor and soil temperature sensor. So the question is how to transfer data from the spot, from the forest, to DEFRA, or Forest Research Agency. And we are thinking about this, and we have chosen Narrowband IoT. So what is Narrowband IoT? First of all, is a part of so-called low power wide area networks, LP1. That's perfect. They are low power, and they are almost everywhere. But it's a subset of LTE. So there's no wonder that mobile operators like Vodafone are deploying this narrowband IoT network to their networks. So there are some good features about narrowband IoT. Maybe I will ask you, Thomas, could you tell us more about advantages of narrowband IoT?
Yes, sure, thanks. As we spoke, we used Vodafone as a partner here. And speaking narrowband IoT, Vodafone is one of the leaders in UK, Czech Republic, say Europe and maybe worldwide in growing development of narrowband IoT and growing coverage. The coverage is one of the first and most important things. We know that the penetration of the signal compared to other LP1 networks is very high. And we also know that the devices connected to NB-IoT can run on batteries for several years, maybe even 5 or 10 years, depending on the application. So this low power mode and signal penetration are the advantages. And also coverage. And speaking coverage, we are talking worldwide. We have some devices in UK, some devices in Czechia, we have devices in Austria, Germany, Europe, and also Australia, New Zealand, and now we are starting with US. So again, from the worldwide perspective or global perspective, NB-IoT is a very promising network.
Again, you can find more information on Wikipedia about narrowband IoT because it's part of 5G, which is very important. 5G is a buzzword right now, and this is a part of this, narrowband IoT. So check our website, Wikipedia. We have a nice webinar. The webinar was dedicated to LP1, so we can check our HARDWARIO videos on our website. So this is about narrowband IoT. So we transfer data from devices, from IoT hub and sensors via narrowband IoT to DEFRA. But there is one middleware we call HARDWARIO Cloud, and it's a perfect tool for data and device management. So basically, you have perfect management of your devices, and you can obtain data through two methods. Very popular REST API. And we will talk about REST API later. It's very well described on our api.hardwario.cloud. And the other method is something which is called callbacks or webhooks, if you like. So you can put your URL of your endpoint to the cloud, and you will get data right there. So this is how DEFRA is using our HARDWARIO Cloud for device management. Through REST API, they are gathering data to their database, and they've got callbacks to application called Grafana. So Thomas, if you be so nice, tell us more about Grafana.
Maybe there is one more thing, one more feature of the HARDWARIO Cloud, and it's not only device management but also user management. Because if you imagine this project, we were speaking about many stakeholders. There is Forest Research Agency, there is DEFRA, there is Vodafone, and within these agencies there are many groups. Some of them are using the rough data, some of them are using the visualization, some of them are using some data sets, and so. And therefore we are using our HARDWARIO Cloud, and we can manage the users, we can manage the accesses, and every particular user can use the data in a way that is appropriate for him. And about the visualization, you can see here some data that are coming from the dendrometers, and you can see here also the integrated data from all sensors. And what is most important here, that you see the data in time. You see the trends, you see the changes, you see the peaks, and these are the most important things, most important moments where you use the NB-IoT always connected device, because it can alert you, it can peak some highlights or highlight some peaks rather, and analyzing those, you can really make the change of the behavior, or you can set a hypothesis about what's happening in the field. And this is for what Grafana was used.
Yes, again, we have a beautiful webinar dedicated to Grafana and InfluxDB, like a brother and sister or twins we are using in many projects. So let's go to our website and find Grafana webinar.
And maybe
But,
I would use this as a bridge to the conclusion of what are the findings of the project. No?
Yes, but just one. Yes, you can, of course. But one mention about if it's just about Grafana. No. In the past, we performed many other integrations. It's easily integrated to your endpoints, to big players in this area like Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services, mobile application like Blink or IFTTT and many more. And then we can go back and we can talk about these outputs or findings.
Yes, sure. Because from the data visualization or from other integrations, it is a nice bridge to what is this project for and what was it used for. Because as I said before, there are some peaks, there are some points in time that can be highlighted, and this is exactly what DEFRA and what the users need to set hypotheses, to think about what's happening in the field. And getting back from the data to the customer, we were able to evaluate which of the hypotheses set in the beginning of the project are right. Or if you remember, there was what is the most impact, what has the most or the biggest impact on the tree growth, what conditions, where in the field or in what microclimates or which regions are the best conditions for trees from the perspective of their growth and these all data are in the database and it is there forever, so you can not only at first sight in visualization, but also long-term work with the data and again and again try to find some frameworks, some correlations and interesting data changes that are worth mentioning.
So definitely there are some benefits for DEFRA and Forest Research. They are connected with this project itself. It's all about climate change and they can perform. But let's go back a little bit to this technological fundament of this. This is all about that we change something, we transform something. We transform this offline collecting data from some places or online, but which were based on GSM. And so these things they can be used by you, not even if you are not expert in this forest research and climate change.
Indeed. The situation before was, as we mentioned, you needed to connect data from limited number of locations because of the powering issue and using some traditional network like GSM, which consumes a lot of energy. So you cannot measure many spots. It's costly, and also you are limited with the locations where you have electricity. Or you have some battery-operated devices, but you don't have the connectivity. So you need to go around in loops and get the data once a month. And again, getting data from the field, it is costly. And using NB-IoT connectivity and the sensors, sensors that we described here, you have the data instantly and continuously. You still need to go to the locations, you still need to go to the field, but according to the data that you analyze, you go where you are the most needed. You go where there is something wrong happening, something different, something that is worth coming and analyzing physically. And this very moment makes the business case really countable in finance and time that you spend on monitoring the spots. And this is broadly applicable. You can find many, and we are finding many analog applications in mines, in industry, everywhere.
Yeah. So let's use simple words. It's cheaper. Definitely it's faster than do something manually, and it's more accurate. So these three benefits are main benefits, and you can use it too. As you can see, this project shows fantastic possibilities of IoT use in general. Now you can digitize almost any environment, no matter where it's located. It opens an endless number of opportunities for our partners and customers. Speaking about DEFRA.
Yeah, we already discussed extension of this project to other locations, but we moreover discussed adding other sensors on logic in the project. For instance, for fire detection or fire prevention, or tree tilt measurement to indicate forest health and how they grow. So we are very much open. As I said, there are a lot of stakeholders in the project, and we are also, together with our partner Vodafone, searching for other analogic opportunities in forestry or agriculture or elsewhere.
Or industry. So if you have any ideas, just write it down to web chat, and we will discuss it in our Q&A session. This is a very, very important message. I have to confess that our success, HARDWARIO's success, is in most cases based on our partners' achievements. That's why we are building strong partners network worldwide. We are helping them in many ways by developing our cutting-edge IoT devices, by sharing our know-how, technologies, know-how in sales, in marketing.
Yeah, case studies and webinars like this one.
Yeah. So if you are interested to become our partner, just send us a message, email, call us, or you can simply book an online meeting with us on our website.
And now it's time for a Q&A session.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Q&A session of our webinar. Thomas, we are not here alone today. We got two friends. Could you introduce them?
Yeah, let me introduce maybe first here physically Pavel, our CTO, co-founder, and guy who is the author of the devices.
Big guy.
The big guy you see.
Hello everyone.
He will speak the technical questions. And I'm so happy that we have Maxwell Young from Vodafone UK available online here in the stream, so you can ask questions, and you asked already questions that will be thrown to Vodafone. And I will start now with the first one. Maxwell, can you please describe the role of Vodafone UK in the project?
So hi everybody, absolute pleasure to be on firstly. Any questions, feel free to raise during this call, or if anything comes up afterwards, feel free to bring it to either of ourselves at HARDWARIO or Vodafone. But in terms of Vodafone's role, I don't think our roles were particularly different between Vodafone and HARDWARIO. We've been working on this project with this POC for about 12 months now, and we've both been crucial in terms of outlining the customer requirements, demonstrating these through different workshops, as well as building the commercials together so that we can offer a brilliant value for money product that beats the incumbent solutions in terms of the performance and the technical requirements, as well as beating them from a commercial perspective. So it's really been a joint partnership that we've been brought on here.
Thank you very much. We must say the same. And maybe there is another question going to the volume of the project. I know that there are two locations, and but can you be a little bit more specific about how many devices we deployed and what is the potential for the future?
Sure, so for this proof of concept, we initiated it in two forests, one in the south of England and one up in the north, so at Alice Holt as well as Harwood. And the reason for that is they wanted to trial the different connectivity as well as see how the different sensors would come back with differing information during the course of the trial. And so we had 9 devices at each for a total of 18, and the The early feedback that we've received has been very positive. We've got a lot of other people in DEFRA interested in bringing in their use cases and looking at different topics that we can try and address for them, where they've been struggling for the past few years. And so we're looking at a potential nationwide rollout in 2021, or at least getting closer to that. And that would be spanning multiple use cases, and it could cover anything from forests through to cities, even down into water measurements that we're looking at for the health of lakes there.
We are very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, and maybe we can continue with a question from Mind to Rule from the live chat. Is the device deployed on every tree in forest? we wish, or just some locations? So
in the forest, they're not deployed on every tree, sadly. That would be great for us, but it might cause a bit too much damage, well, not damage, but there'd be a very large presence within each forest. So each of these forests have thousands or probably tens of thousands of trees in, and so they're spaced out throughout the forest so they can monitor different microclimates within it.
Yeah, and so now we can answer the rest of the question from Mind to Rule. Probably it's for Pavel. How weather conditions affect the device?
Yeah, so it's important to start with the fact that Chester has been from the beginning designed for a robust use in the outdoor harsh environmental conditions. So there is really no hassle with the temperature range because we can span from -40 to +70 degrees of Celsius. And because it's low power designed, this device it is designed to be around for several years outdoors. So there is really no affection by the environment itself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. And now, of course, and we were expecting such a questions, and we are thrilled to answer about prices, about how much Chester and Dendrometer is, and there's another question from Roman Kosicki about the operational cost of device. So I will split this question to between Pavel and Maxwell. So I will start with Maxwell about operational costs, because it's your project, you are our partner, and you are providing such a services to DEFRA. Could you be more specific about operational cost?
Sure. So are we talking the monthly cost that DEFRA would see for this?
Yep.
So the monthly costs are just primarily on a device basis, where they'll pay a couple euros per device, and that gets them access to the Vodafone narrowband IoT network. So that enables them to continue their connectivity and keep reporting the device's sensory information. And that goes up into the HARDWARIO cloud. And that's where everything is stored from a data packet wise, and you can go back and download exports from a wide range of use cases on a device level or for your entire fleet. And that information is then transformed into Grafana, where the customer will have access to a dashboard. So this is preset to the customer's needs, so it can automatically visualize the information that they require. For example, if they need to see the Dendrometer readings and see how their trees are growing and shrinking according to the different rain patterns, they'll be able to see that, as it will be pre-set up and it will be fed in live in according to the specification of the device.
Yep. Just to add what we charge for our cloud and connectivity. So it's just one fee, cloud and connectivity, and it's €2 per month. So this is very clear.
Per device.
Per device, per month per device. And speaking about Grafana, it's €1 per month.
One extra euro.
One extra euro. So this is about operational cost. And now about the cost of the device and Dendrometer. So you know, again, Max, you know this. These answers.
You have paid the bill.
You paid.
Yeah. Well, luckily the invoice wasn't that scary to look at when we received it. So there are a lot of variables here, and that primarily considers what add-ons you want to make onto the Chester-based device. So we had a couple requests for external sensors in terms of temperature, humidity. We wanted an accelerometer built in. We also had soil moisture and temperature devices added on. And so they rose the cost a little bit to around €150 for that hardware piece. But that was at quite a small scale, as we were only having 18 of these made. So the more you scale up, the cheaper it becomes on a per unit basis quite considerably. And so that really does help with a larger rollout for a customer. In terms of the dendrometers, I believe they were quite expensive due to the high specification of the devices, and they were roughly 150 euros each.
Okay, so this was an answer to Pavel Yermakov, and thanks for this question. Now from Radek about how communication is from Chester secured, encrypted. Pavel, it's
yeah. So we are using a cellular network, and we have a SIM card installed in the device, and we have a custom APN set up between HARDWARIO and Vodafone. It's like sort of completely private network, and the network itself, the technology, uses very strong secure algorithms to secure the communication. And this is the chain if speaking just the network. And going further from the Vodafone network to HARDWARIO cloud services, it is secured by IPsec, and there is very strong cryptography again. So end to end, there is very strong security. And on our side, when pulling the data through REST API, there we are using already standard TLS, HTTPS mechanisms. So yeah, the whole chain, starting from the sensor up to the data feeds coming to the users, it's all secure.
Okay, so hopefully, Radek, you are satisfied with the answer. Another question from Louis Riccardi. When you say several years of battery life, how frequently can the device send data in order to get that battery autonomy? So we need to describe the logic behind this communication, and of course, it's tied together. So Pavel, again.
Yeah. The question could get actually quite complicated, but let's simplify it. It's always a matter of transmission intervals and amount of data you are transferring, but also a matter how far you are actually away from the NB-IoT cell, because there you have something called ECL zones. You have 3 zones, and basically it's one of the most important factor determining the overall battery lifetime in your device. So what we are doing with this DEFRA project is that we actually transmit a lot of buffer data every 5 hours. This is how we conserve the power. But the resolution of the data is much more fine-grained. You have data samples every, I don't know, help me Maxwell, maybe 5 minutes or 30 minutes, I can't remember actually. But
yes, I believe 5 minutes.
Yeah, but actually the data are buffered, and then on the server side they are unlooped and reconstructed with all the actual timestamp when the data have been acquired. And this way you can conserve a lot of power on your devices. So we always do these calculations and estimations and also real measurements once we finish the development of the device, and what we create is so-called battery estimation calculators, where you can actually model all kinds of parameters. You can say how often do you want to transmit, and what kind of sensors you have hooked in, and based on the inputs you will get the results and estimated battery lifetime for ECL 0, 1 and 2 zones, which determine the distance from the actual cell.
And then there is this area and location issue, which we faced actually in this project as well, because in one of the 2 locations there were quite poor signal of the NB-IoT, and we very much believe that this one can be solved by adding external antennas. We have several types available on our online store, and one particular antenna is helping the signal and the consumption obviously a lot. We have a very good experience with that. So this can be solved and helped.
So hopefully, Louis, you are satisfied with the answer. And another question from Mind to Rule about how wood tree tilt can be detected if it's deployed only on some trees. Yes, as we mentioned, we will be happy to install our Chesters to every single tree worldwide. Unfortunately, it's a question of the budget. But speaking about tilt, maybe again I will ask you, Maxwell, about this, because there is a new project coming, hopefully, Could you describe this new project about monitoring tilt of trees? And sorry, maybe I didn't understand. The question. But of course, if you are measuring tilt, you will monitor just one tree in the forest, but you can somehow estimate that it happens to all trees in the forest. But back to you, Maxwell, about the tilt monitoring.
Sure, I think it very much depends on the use case requirement for measuring tilt. So with the new customer that we're looking at, they have very large and historic estates of trees that have been planted in England for hundreds of years, and these trees hold a great value to our country. And so these significant trees, they would plant the devices on, and by measuring the tilt from year to year or season to season, they'll be able to see if a tree is particularly swaying a lot more using already collected wind speeds. Then that might mean that there's a problem with the roots not being embedded enough, or maybe they're not getting enough nutrients or water in. Or if they're holding very strong, then they'll know that they're more stable. And the idea behind that is they know which trees then will need more attention, so they'll be able to give them that attention. But these are just for the significantly most valuable ones. There are some other research projects that we're working with DEFRA on, where they'll be able to understand at a wider scale how trees actually respond to different nutrients that are in the ground. So that's a separate use case that they're working on.
Thank you. Another question from Roman Kosicki. If we are using any bidirectional communication with the devices on this project, in yes, which and why? So I know the answer, but maybe you will answer.
So particularly this project doesn't require any bidirectional communication. So as mentioned already, we are just gathering the data from the sensors, buffering them, and sending in 5-hour intervals. On the other hand, NB-IoT allows you to do bidirectional transfers, even for low-power devices. Vodafone network has a feature enabled in NB-IoT, which is called EDRX, and it means that the devices can turn on the receiver in defined time slots and are able to receive the messages sent from the server with some latency, which could be tens of seconds or something, but very sufficient for many applications. So technically, yes, bidirectional communication is possible. You can even download new firmware images over NB-IoT, but the direct answer is no, this application doesn't use it, and we don't have many applications utilizing bidirectional communication today. The vast majority of our IoT projects are about sensors gathering data and their processing in the cloud.
But still, that's why we love narrowband IoT. But because if there will be such a demand, we will use narrowband IoT, which is LP1 technology, and we can bidirectionally communicate with the device.
Exactly.
This is a very nice question from Pavel Yermakov. What is the business benefit? Why would an owner of a forest want this? To be honest, I have no idea, because we are not speaking about the owners of the forest. We are speaking about some special agency, and they were gathering the data manually. So the business behind this, that we deploy a solution which is much cheaper and more accurate. Maybe Thomas, you will help me.
Just simply, the forest is something that you need to take care of. You need to know information from how well it is, if some trees need to be cut, if there are needed several special treatment in several locations. And you are doing that. Every forest owner, state agency or private owner, they are doing that. They have their special people, technicians that are doing reviews and walkarounds, and they have the know-how. What we do is we provide them with constant data, so that they can focus on the locations where there is something suspicious, something different. So they kind of predictive maintenance, because you do the maintenance. It's asset as every other asset. You do the maintenance, but with the data before you start, you can plan to treat first or only observe first the location where the data indicates something that needs your care first. And this is what we do. We do the maintenance and treatment and care much more efficient, or maybe not we, but IoT in general, and they can reduce number of observations, number of walkarounds, number of treatments, and they can focus on exactly where it is necessary. Maybe Maxwell, can you add something more about the business case?
Yes, so I've got a couple of points to add. So strictly around the DEFRA business case, what they currently have in place, or what they had in place, were these large eyesore towers that used to collect information from the centre of a forest. And it wasn't able to be scaled out throughout the forest, so they were only able to collect these sensory information at one very specific site in the middle of it. And because these forests are throughout the UK and in very far-reaching places, they would often have to send a research engineer out to get to the site every 3 or 4 months. And so that would involve a 5-hour drive each way. So there's the cost of their salary, the cost of the fuel, the damage to the environment caused by doing this. And then they also have to get to the devices and download the information. And a lot of the time they said that they got to a device to realise it had lost battery connectivity, or there was a problem with the device and it wasn't able to record any of the information. And so they'd lost 3 or 4 months worth of data without ever realising, because they didn't know if the problem started on the first day that they left, or it might have happened 3 months after the day before they actually arrived at the site. And so for them, there was a large business benefit and a cost reduction from a time perspective, an economic perspective, and an environmental perspective. But there are lots more business cases that different verticals can use here. So for example, in the logging industry, they have to go out and measure the trees and see what size they are quite routinely to make sure that they're growing at the required rates and see when they're available to be cut down so they can be turned into paid-for furniture. But by having a solution like this, that will be able to be managed entirely remotely, and it would be entirely available at their fingertips just on a laptop or on their iPad. And there are also some other business cases, such as charities that plant trees. So you'll see a lot of the time, if you go to book a flight, you can often donate some money and the airline will then go and plant some trees to offset your carbon. But there's a lot of scams being run right now where these companies are donating the £1,000 that you might have gifted them to negate your carbon effect, but only maybe £10 of that actually ends up going towards planting trees. And a lot of the time, they're the wrong type of trees planted, they're planted in the wrong place, and nobody ever actually sees them growing. So they get planted and they die within 3 or 4 months. So this is another business case that we're exploring in a way that we can actually help regulate this industry, and again, contribute positively towards climate change.
Definitely. So maybe for forest owners, it's better, to monitor this fire prevention project we are thinking of. But we will see. Another nice question thank you, Maxwell, from Richard Straka. If it's possible to use own cloud with Narrowband IoT for collecting the data, and what it would briefly require as a software technologies protocols. So we are open, yes, of course you can. You can use your own cloud, your own architecture. Even if you are using our Chester device, you can connect this Chester device to your infrastructure. So this is from my side, and Pavel?
Basically, every customer of ours is using some sort of his own cloud and considers HARDWARIO cloud as an additional service from which he spools the data. But as Alan mentioned, it is possible to give you full freedom and to transfer the SIM cards to your own account, but you will have to solve some hassle with setting up the infrastructure between Vodafone and your servers. And it's not for small volume applications. You have some limit or threshold you have to reach, and also you have to keep running the IPsec tunnel open, and it is definitely possible, and we are supporting customers if they decide to take this step and move this infrastructure and SIM card management under their wings.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Question from Mario Sack. I want to use Climate Monitor kit, which is from our Tower IoT kit, and router board MikroTik LoRa as a gateway. What are the advantages or disadvantages between using Chester LoRa or using router board MikroTik LoRa? Thank you.
So we should first think that MikroTik today provides a very nice infrastructure for building your own LoRaWAN networks, and we have been using that with success for a couple of months. And it's a gateway part. MikroTik is only a gateway, and it helps you to get the data from your local LoRaWAN devices to your LoRaWAN server. On the other hand, Chester is like the LoRaWAN end device, so you cannot really compare those two. But the advantage of, and there's always some breaking point where you want to decide whether you will deploy LoRaWAN or NB-IoT, and it comes with the number of devices you are locally deploying. So if you have probably hundreds of sensors or devices you need to set in some place, you are probably better off economically with LoRaWAN and having LoRaWAN equipped with, for example, Vodafone NB-IoT LTE SIM card, and you can from the field get the data through LTE from originated LoRaWAN devices to your LoRaWAN server. But the beauty of NB-IoT is that you can have really quick setup. You can come to a place, you don't have to set up any LoRaWAN gateway, which requires additional auxiliary power. It cannot run from the battery, and you can deploy several or tens of devices locally much faster than setting up your local LoRaWAN infrastructure. So in HARDWARIO we use both, and we always consult with customers what are the specific requirements and advantages, and we try to set the fair breakpoint when is better which one. So.
Thank you. Actually, the Mario was asking about using MikroTik LoRa and Chester LoRa, and so this is the answer is very simple. It's about the low power. Chester can run from batteries. MikroTik LoRa cannot. So this is you have to think about this. If you are able to plug a device to mains, then you can use something like MikroTik LoRa to create a gate. As a gateway, or you will use Chester LoRa. Back to Maxwell about Mind2Rule. Can you tell which forests in the UK are part of study, or forests are part in study?
Yes, so in the north of England we have Harwood Forest in Northumberland, and down south we have Alice Holt Forest, which is just based in Surrey. I'll make sure that we share an article which gives a press release about this, and it gives all details from that, including some quotes from Vodafone CTO and the DEFRA CTO.
Thank you. And a few last questions. Radek Kozub, how big data buffer provides Vodafone for delayed device reception during time between message is sent and device wakes up to receive packet from server? Pavel, is there something like this? Vodafone doesn't provide any buffer, or?
Well, they provide some buffering mechanisms actually if you want to send the message from a server to the device, because there you have this EDRX, and the network has to buffer the message for the appropriate time slot. I can't really speak much technical details about Vodafone because I want to say something confusing, but basically when you fire the message from your device, the latency of the data delivered is roughly 3 seconds. To my knowledge, there is no buffering whatsoever. It's what you are sending is pure UDP datagrams, including the regular IP header, and if you don't implement some acknowledging mechanisms, it's fire and forget. You just send it in a couple of seconds. The datagram appears on the sockets on the port you have specified, and that's it. So no buffering. So if you want to make sure that the link or delivering of the message requires additional robustness, you can either do it simply, just transmit it several times, or you implement the handshaking mechanism, and you will have with some timeouts several transmission attempts before the message is delivered.
Perfect. And the last comment to Richard Straka about the required software technologies and protocols. We will answer these questions directly to you. So if you can share with us your details, we will tell you more about these protocols. So
maybe guys, one thing that we owe to the audience, because we mentioned the REST API during the session, and there was in the end no time to tell you something briefly about it. So maybe Pavel, you are the author and the technical architect.
There are two ways how you can get data from the devices through HARDWARIO Cloud. One is to get them asynchronously. As soon as they arrive in our infrastructure, we can give them to you through so-called callbacks. And you need to set up some HTTPS endpoint where we will deliver the data. The nice thing during this data delivery is actually the possibility to transform the data. When you take Chester, its output in our server after all the binary transformation is JSON. And sometimes you need to tweak the format of the JSON, so you have to write some AWS Lambda or some other glue function. But this is not really the case with HARDWARIO Cloud. You can use our JSON-ATA transformation feature. It's something we have adopted from as an open source component, and it's integrated in Node-RED as well. And this allows you to actually directly integrate your already existing API endpoints to your devices. So that's really neat, and you get this for free. The second possibility is actually this REST API. So we have api.hardwario.cloud, and there is industry standard Swagger description of all the methods. And actually from the beginning, we have designed our HARDWARIO Cloud to be API first. So everything you can do in the web portal and this management console, you can do via REST API, including management of your devices, creating groups, and so on. We have quite flexible tree hierarchy, how you can deal with the devices and your projects. But you can also retrieve the device messages, which is the most important. And there are two methods. Either you will fetch the messages, and you can specify the time limit and how many records do you want to get, and within which date range, and you will get the list of records. Or you can use it as a mailbox. It's quite nice because you don't have to implement the state logic. And if you want to know what are the new messages which you haven't pulled yet from our server, you can just call this receive method, which will work like your inbox. You received the unread messages, and through the method confirm, you will just mark the messages which have been already processed, and the receive endpoint doesn't provide them anymore. So it's quite neat, and our customers are happily using that. So
now you understand why we didn't take this during the webinar, because it was for us too complicated. I'm sure I would make a mistake. And thank you, Pavel, for answering that.
Thank you.
And thank you. Yes, and now it's time to thank to you, dear friends, for supporting us, for watching us. As we said many times, don't hesitate, ask us any question. We will send a webinar follow-up with some. We will ask you for a feedback. We'll be happy, to hear your comments, recommendations.
We will share with you links that were mentioned here.
Yeah. So this is, and what is perfect, in YouTube, you can watch this webinar again and again. So this is first one. Maxwell, thank you so much for joining us today. Be safe in London. Are you London? Yeah, London based, right?
Yes, based in London.
And hopefully we will see.
Thank you very much, gents. Yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to everybody who's attended this session as well. Looking forward to working with you continuously, and feel free to reach out to me, to anybody in the audience too.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, Pavel and Thomas, and hopefully
you
we'll see each other next month, and we will send you shortly our new topic. Thank you. Take care.
See you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.